Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you today. My name is Dustin Cormier. Welcome to How to Rock a Campfire. How to Rock Astrology, that is. How to Rock a Campfire is my own guitar teaching channel. Welcome. Today we're going to continue our reading of Light on Life, an introduction to the Astrology of India. In particular, we're still on Chapter 3, talking about the essential astronomy for Jyotish. We've just talked mainly about what we would call proper motion, which is the revolution of the planets around the sun, which creates up the belt through the signs that we know of as the zodiac. Whether the zodiac is made up of constellations, as in the stars, or as divisions of the year derived from the sun's cycling around the sun in the tropical zodiac. So we've talked about those two. Now, what we're going to get into now is the differences in types of, essentially we're talking about the houses of the horoscope now. As well, there's going to be a discussion on the two different ways of seeing, essentially the southern versus the northern Indian astrology charts. As we're going to see, one type of chart, the northern chart, spins the whole chart to fit, just like Western astrology. This is like the Western style, in the sense that number 6 is the sign of Virgo, and that's considered the Lagna, being at the top. But the ascendant is always at the top of the chart in Northern Indian astrology. Now, this is like the Western in the sense that it's a circle which spins. The whole chart, the stars, the positions of the planets spin according to Earth's position. And this is very useful. It gives you different information than the southern style of chart, which we are going to show here. It's the southern style of chart. And we can see that it's a fixed thing. Now that LG over here, that's the ascendant point. In fact, what you'll commonly see written in southern charts is that there'll be, I've just written that 2 little lines there, and that indicates the ascendant sign. So what this kind of shows us, the long and short of it, is that this is a map showing permanent positions of the signs, which is these little squares. These signs don't change. The ascendant can be placed anywhere in this fixed schema of the stars. Now, the reason I'm showing you this as a caveat is that I would contend I actually use both of these. And I'm trying to make the point that this is different from the bipartisan politics and craziness of the tropical versus sidereal debate. This is something completely different. It's not making people riled up and passionate about the two sides. Everyone kind of agrees that you should use both. You'll notice later on, you'll know why I mostly use the southern chart, actually, this type, where the zodiac is fixed, because you begin to memorize the trines, the squares, you know where the mutable signs are, and this is especially important when getting into Jaimini astrology and Rashi aspects. But generally, it's what you would ultimately prefer to use is kind of up to you. So this is, go by feel. I encourage you definitely to at least try both. As somebody who's transmitting Jyotish through another author's perspective, my personal commentary on the matter is that you should at least try both if you have to make a decision. I made a decision. If someone gives me their date of birth, I instinctively sketch out the southern style, which shows that fixed square, and then I draw in the ascendant in that fixed place. I do it that way, but that's my preference. So figure out, digest both and learn through using both for a little while. I started off in the northern one, which is this one where the position of the ascendant changes the whole chart. I started off that way and went to the southern chart. That's what I recommend everybody's do, is try both. I digress. Let's get into it. This is our author's readings of the houses of a horoscope. A planet's proper motion is shown by its degree position within a constellation. So the proper motion, that's what we were talking about before. It's the planet revolving around the sun in degrees of the zodiac. A planet's diurnal motion is shown by its house position. This means that the Earth is spinning and the planet is revolving much quicker in the sky, although that's just a trick of us seeing it from our perspective. But that is considered a magical part of the synchronistic fate of planets being in a certain position with certain auspiciousness at certain fated times in the karma of our souls. So the diurnal motion of a planet is shown by its house position. It's the geomantic Earth perspective of that planet. The astrological houses at a locality are a permanent division of space into 12 equal sectors of 30 degrees each, measured from the ascendant. This is slightly different from the Western idea of the house cusps. It's important for us to note already that we're getting into some differences between Western and Indian Vedic astrology, where the houses are a permanent division of space into 12 equal sectors of 30 degrees each, measured from the ascendant. Western astrology has these things called that house cusps. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Tropical astrology and all astrology uses the house cusps. Totally wrong of me to say just the West does it. But the point is that the West doesn't consider both. The West only uses the house cusps and doesn't consider this equal 30-degree sectoring of the houses as well. Both are happening at the same time in the Vedic sense. I'll explain further. We'll explain the difference between house cusps and houses from the ascendant as we go along. For now, let's keep to the text at hand. The ascendant of your horoscope, which is the degree of the zodiac intersected by the eastern horizon at the place and time of your birth, establishes where a planet is within its rhythm of rising and setting in relation to your birthplace. That's a lot. It's an important description of the ascendant, so I'm going to say it again. The ascendant of your horoscope, which is the degree of the zodiac intersected by the eastern horizon at the place and time of your birth, establishes where a planet is within its rhythm of rising and setting in relation to your birthplace. Because at your birthplace, the planets are rising and or setting on the eastern horizon of the sky from your birthplace. And at certain hours, a planet could be far away from that rising point, or it could be close to it. The ascendant is called the Lagna in Jyotish because the word Lagna conveys a sense of being tied down. The ascendant ties the position of the planets to the place and time of birth. Although the words ascendant and Lagna are often used synonymously. The concept of Lagna in Jyotish actually encompasses all the varied methods which make the heavens specific to one's astrological purpose. The Lagna, which is fixed by the ascendant, is known as the Udayalagna. Now, I see. Okay, so the Lagna actually means where you're going to derive this stuff from. And usually, when you hear the word Lagna, it's like, my Lagna is Leo. I'm in tropical Vedic astrology. I'm a Leo ascendant, so I would say Leo is my Lagna. But, and that's generally the case. People will use the Lagna to say, meaning their ascendant. But there are times when, like, technically, the Lagna can actually be, it's the point from which you spin you perceive the chart. And you can have the Lagna be different things other than the ascendant. The Lagna fixed by the ascendant is called the Udayalagna. Now, Jyotish's most common alternative Lagna is the Chandra Lagna, which is the moon Lagna. Chandra is another word for the moon, which is created by taking whatever constellation the moon is sitting in as the first house. So, in this case, if you're a Gemini rising, but your moon is in Libra, and the sun is right next door in Scorpio, if you didn't have the birth time for that person, you might not know that they're a Gemini rising. So what most Jyotishis would do in that case is would say, okay, forget it. We have to take it then from an alternative Lagna, which is another object that would reflect some causation and some triangulation from a certain point. Moon being the closest to Earth, the moon representing the mind, which manifests the physical ascendant. That's why they say that the moon is a commonly used alternative Lagna. And then that sun in Scorpio in that case would be in the second house from the moon. For the Surya Lagna, now each of these is like, each planet can technically be a Lagna. Each point, each cusp can technically be a Lagna, if you want to call it that. And the Surya Lagna is the sun Lagna, which, these things do count. If a planet is in the fourth house from the sun, that planet has something to do with a constant establishing of a foundation for the activities of that sun. Fourth house themes, right? Each position, each planet, everything can have a whole house system unto itself. So for the Surya Lagna, the Sun Lagna, the Sun's constellation is taken as the first house. Notice in all these Lagnas, again, that a deep root of Vedic astrology holds that the house itself is the sign, the constellation. And the next sign over, no matter where you are in that sign, the next sign over is considered to be the next house. That's the houses from the Lagna, as opposed to the house cusps. Now, for horary or prajna charts, the Lagna can be fixed by the Udayalagna, the Chandra Lagna, the Diglagna by compass direction, the Shabda Lagna by the words the clients utter, the Sparsha Lagna by the parts of the body they touch, the Nama Lagna by the first letter of their names or the numerical value of the full name, or even by a random number the Jyotishi asks them to choose. In this book, whenever the word Lagna is used without any modifier, it should be taken to mean the Udayalagna, the Lagna fixed by the ascendant. Just as I said, that I'm a Leo Lagna. It means that my ascendant sign rises in the sign of Leo. Now, Jyotishis emphasize the Udayalagna because it is the one factor in astrology that greatly differentiates births that take place on the same day. For example, when Mars is in Cancer, it will be at the same degree position in Cancer for anyone born anywhere on Earth at that moment. If we all could say about that Mars, If all we could say about that Mars was that it occupied a certain degree of Cancer, it would become a relatively meaningless factor in an astrological interpretation, one which would not help us to differentiate one person's horoscope from another. If, however, we note that the same Mars who is rising for someone born in Chicago will be setting at the same time for someone born in Bombay, we have an important point of differentiation for the two horoscopes. Since Mars rising in Cancer on the eastern horizon and Mars setting in Cancer on the western horizon have two quite different astrological interpretations. Wow, it's psychedelic, eh? It's such a clear picture of what's going on here. Most Jyotishis use the method of equal house division. 30 degrees equals one house. Though advanced and detailed work is often accomplished through other methods of house division, which are based on proportionate divisions of time or proportionate divisions of space. The method of Shripati, which is based on proportionate divisions of space, is one of the most popular of these alternative methods. And this is where we derive the campanus, the house cusps, and all these different things. I believe it's the space, not sure which, but it's either the space or the time rendition, which makes the cusps appear at seemingly haphazard places along the zodiacal belt, which are not at fixed divisions of space. So I think it would be the time, proportionate divisions of time around the zodiacal circle. My astronomy is not as tight as I would like it to be, but I digress. That's why I'm reading the book with you guys. Now, we just really got into the mapping of the houses, or the houses of the horoscope. We're only 17 minutes in. I think we should just keep going along and just keep this all in the same video. Now we're going to get into the mapping of a horoscope. I'm going to make them a different one. It's my instinct is telling me to do that. So this has been the houses of the horoscope, part 1. Part 2 is going to be mapping the horoscope. And this is going to give us the rest of how we interpret all that is what we see in a southern or a northern Indian horoscope chart. So I will see you guys on the next episode, which will probably be the conclusion of Chapter 3, The Essential Astronomy of Jyotish. Thanks for watching. I'm Dustin Cormier. If you guys are enjoying this, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll be seeing you guys on the next episode, so I'll see you soon.